I've been a website designer for over 8 years, mainly working with creatives and a lot of photographers, and I'm going to share with you the most common things I see people missing from their websites. Generally, photography websites tend to focus a lot on style and or simplicity and displaying their portfolio in a minimalist setting. What a lot of these websites are missing is the strategy element. My approach as a website designer is to combine all of these 3 S's to create a website that actually brings you clients. I'm also coming at this from the perspective of someone who has been a potential client for wedding photographers, brand photographers, and other commercial photographers as well. So these are the top 8 things that I just think you need to have on your website if you don't already. So the first thing your clients want to see when they go on your photography website is obviously your portfolio and a gallery of some kind. But rather than just dumping all of the photos that you've ever taken on there, you really want to be curating these, creating galleries that are just showing off the highlights of your best skills and your best work, and more of the work that you actually want to attract. Make it easy for people to be able to browse through lots of your photos without having to click into loads of individual galleries just to see a few photos. Your clients will want to get a feel for your style and your vibes without too much clicking. Another thing that you need to have on your website is actual content and text that answers your potential clients' questions. So often I see beautiful minimal portfolio websites that just don't really have any text on them. They've got lots of lovely imagery, maybe a tiny little bio on the about page and a contact form, and that's about it. But unless maybe you're a fashion photographer working for really high-end editorial type brands, in which case your website might actually just be acting as a portfolio that you send to people rather than actually acting as a marketing tool, which is actually what most photographers need their website to be doing for them. So as I say, there's definitely a balance to be struck between style, simplicity, and strategy here. Yes, I'm all about clean, minimal looking websites, but you have to balance that and actually give your clients something to work with by just sharing the basic information, like how do you actually help people? What might your process look like? And actually letting people know the types of services and packages that you offer. In amongst that content and text, you really want to be making it clear what makes you stand out. What is your USP or unique selling point, and why should people hire you versus someone else? You can get this across by talking about your style, your process, your approach, your use of lighting or your use of certain technology, or the fact that you specialize in a very specific type of photography or a very specific type of client. You want to make that really clear on your website really from the get-go so that your dream clients and the ones that you really want to work with instantly see your website, they understand what you're about, and they're thinking, hell yes, I want to work with this person. The fourth thing that I really think you need to have on your website, and this is a bit of a controversial one, but it is a hill I will die on, you need to have your pricing on your website. As I say, I am actually someone who has been a client and has been doing research to find photographers in the past, and I honestly believe that you are repelling more people by not having your pricing on your website than you are if you put your pricing on your website. And it doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to share fixed price packages if you don't want to, although that can be an option. You could share a starting from price or a price range that people can expect. Take it from me as a potential client, if I'm looking at 3 websites that actually display their pricing and I come across a website that doesn't display their pricing, I'm probably going to discount the one that doesn't display their pricing because I'm trying to make a decision and it's too difficult for me to do the research that I need and make the comparisons that I need if that person's website is lacking the information around pricing. And not all of your clients will be motivated by how low or high your price is. They'll take in other factors, but it is a useful thing for people to be able to compare, and it also just saves so much time in back and forths with people who are just way off in terms of their budget as well. I've talked a lot more in detail about sharing your pricing on your website and how to actually price your services, and I'll leave some resources below this video because I could talk about this for ages. The 5th thing is sharing your location on your website. Now, I don't mean your exact address, I just mean a rough area like your local town or city or even your county or state. I think a lot of people worry about putting their location on their website because they think it's going to put off people who aren't from that location. But you can make it really clear in the content of your website that you are based in a certain place, but you also serve other areas as well. When I was looking for and researching a wedding videographer, it was so frustrating when I would go on a videographer's website and it wouldn't say anywhere where they were based. It was really important to me to work with someone in the rough kind of area that I was in, because not only do I want to support local businesses, it's also an easy place to start your search if you've got no idea where to start, But also as a client, you don't want to have to travel too far yourself, and you also might not want to have to pay for too much travel expenses for someone. So realistically, any of the websites that I was looking at where they didn't have their location on there and I couldn't find it anywhere else on the web, I just discounted that person. They could have actually been based down the road from me and been the perfect fit, but because I couldn't see that, they just weren't in my options. Adding your location also makes your whole SEO strategy much easier because it is much less competitive to try and get ranked for your local town kind of area for your photography services versus trying to get your website to rank on Google for a whole country's search. So that's something to bear in mind as well. The next essential is on your contact page. Ideally, you might have an email address that people can reach out to and a contact form. For most businesses, legally in the UK at least, you do need to have some way for people to contact you other than a contact form. But having a contact form is useful as well because you can collect specific information and guide people to give you answers that you want. And one of those questions that you definitely want to be including is, where did people discover you from? I personally like to make this a required field in my contact forms because it is such important and useful data, because it tells you which of your marketing activities has been most effective when people fill this in. If they say that they found you on Google or from word of mouth and they tell you who referred you, you can then reach out to that person and say thanks. Or if they're telling you that they found you on an Instagram reel, that's showing you that that type of marketing activity is working. So definitely include that on your contact form. I also find it quite surprising that a lot of photography websites aren't technically meeting the legal requirements of that website in terms of UK, EU and GDPR laws. So as a general rule of thumb, I'm not a legal expert by any means, but typically if you are using a platform like Squarespace and maybe you have website analytics either through that platform or on Google Analytics or something like that, or maybe you have a contact form on your website, as I mentioned, you're technically processing people's data, and so you need to have a privacy policy on your website. And oftentimes your website will also be using cookies to track people's activity on your website, so it's likely you might need a cookie consent manager as well. I personally use CookieYes, which adds the cookie consent manager and generates a privacy policy for you. I'll leave a link below in the description for that. And finally, this is such an important one, especially with a service-based business like photography, where you are actually meeting someone in person and working one-on-one with them, and it's largely about relationships. You need to have a professional photo of you somewhere on your website. Obviously on your about page makes the most sense, but it is surprising how many photographer websites don't have this. And I know you prefer to be behind the lens rather than in front of it. No one really likes having their photo taken like that. But honestly, it is so important for people to be able to feel like they know you before they are working with you. It builds trust and shows you're a legitimate business. And if it's actually a professional photo rather than a pixelated or highly filtered phone photo, for example, it shows that you're taking yourself and your business seriously, and that's going to rub off on your clients, makes you seem more professional and make them treat you seriously as well. So those are the 8 top things. For more tips on designing the perfect photography website, I've written a very in-depth blog post here. I'll leave a link to that and my website design services in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week with another video.